Mark Stoneman, Sam Robson, thanks so much for joining us. We're here to relive that incredible partnership you both played a hand in down at Hove in September 21 against Sussex, almost 2 years ago to this day now, when you rewrote the record books for Middlesex. It's for part of a new series of content we're doing for our principal sponsors, Knight Frank, called Perfect Partnerships, and I really can't think of a better place to start than your one down in Hove. So let's go back 2 years. Let's kick off with the opening scenes. It's a bright sunny day down in Hove. You've won the toss. Robbo, first up to you. I'm guessing there's little option but to bat first.
Yeah, it was a hot week actually for sort of middle of September, and it looked a good wicket, and I think earlier in the season it's sort of been a toughish year for batting in a way. I think we had a lot of low-scoring games here at Lords early in the season, and I think as a batsman, often there's sort of a couple of times in the year where you walk out to the middle before the toss and you think, I'd like to have a bat today, because if I can get through the early stages, I reckon there could be a big score there for the taking, and this was definitely one of those days.
And Rocky, to you, obviously the pair of you are forming a new batting partnership here. You just joined the club. You'd played against Derbyshire the week before. This is only the second time you've gone out there to open the batting with Sam. Who makes the call on who opens up? Who faces that first delivery?
I think it's just something we just had a chat about, wasn't it? It's both senior players, so get a feel for it. If you have a major preference, there's no point upsetting someone when you're trying to get things off the ground. For me, walking out there on that day, I was just trying to get off the mark, having bagged a pair the week before against Derby on debut, which wasn't ideal. So I can't remember who did take first ball. Was it you?
I can't remember. I think we've mixed it up, haven't we? At the moment, we're sort of you're doing take one in the first dig, and then I do it in the second. I think earlier in the year it might have been the other way around, and I think last year, I can't remember. I think we just sort of mix it around, don't we? We're pretty easy going. Yeah, I think normally if I have a younger partner, I leave it up to him, and I'm pretty relaxed now about things. Yeah.
Well, just for the record, Robbo, it was you that faced the first ball, but it was Rocky that hit the first milestone of the day. He got his first boundary up in the third over. Let's just take a quick look at that.
Three slips crash down, and Stoneman edges past them for 4 down to the vacant third. Stoneman moves to 6.
Now, Rocky, you bring out your first boundary with a streaky edge down to third man. It seems a ridiculous thing to say given what you went on to achieve, but watching the footage back when pulling this content together, it didn't look easy out there early doors. There was a lot of movement, a lot of nibbling around, but nice to get that first one away to the boundary.
Mate, this is an absolute classic. So me and Robbo, whenever we're asked for feedback about a pitch, we'll give good, honest feedback, and if there's a little bit of nibble or whatever, that was a classic new ball pitch, and there was a little bit of bounce in the pitch. So if bowlers hit a good length, they could trouble you if you weren't right on the money, from memory. So it wasn't by any means a minefield, but certainly was a new ball wicket where you just had to stay nice and precise and hold your lines.
Yeah, I think, as you said there, I think it bounced a little bit. It was rock hard and true, and yes, I think when the ball was new, there was enough there, and if you weren't on your guard, you could have nicked one or whatever, because it would definitely carry. But I think that was the beauty of it. That's why once we got through the new ball, it was so nice for batting, because it bounced and it came on. You could play all your shots. As I said, which was a bit of a fresh change, because I do remember that year, through the middle of the year, it was pretty tough going, and I definitely reckon that sort of spurred us on a little bit, or it certainly spurred me on, because I knew that it was going to be a good day for batting if you could get through the early stages. So yeah, it was well set up.
Well, let's take a look at your first boundary, Robbo, and that will lead me on to a nice question I've got.
Hunter Robson from the Cromwell Road end. He bowls full straight, clip through mid-wicket, lovely shot.
Better than mine, that's for sure.
A bit harsh from Fletch saying yours was streaky. It was all right.
Lovely timing. Robson moves to 9.
Well, Rocky's beaten me to it. It was a better way to bring out your first boundary for sure. Classic Robson, really, straight out the middle. As a batter, or the pair of you really, I'll put this to both of you, as batters that have played so many first-class innings, when do you know that you're in the groove? I mean, obviously that's come nicely out in the middle. Some of your early shots as well, you were fine in the middle. When do you know that it's going to be your day? Do you get a feeling early?
Oh, I think, like Robbo's alluded to there, you can tell when the first couple of balls come onto the bat that you're a chance of making a big one. There's sometimes where you can't take anything for granted, and there might be one with your name on. But I think a service like this, it was pretty clear early on that if if you held your discipline and did the right things, there was going to be a chance to make a big score. And it was a case of not trying to go, certainly for me, not try and go through too many gears and almost just find that happy medium, because the nature of the ground on a true wicket, it was quick scoring. But if you got out your box and started looking for things, you'd find yourself in trouble still. So,
yeah, definitely. I think on days like this one particularly, you can almost play within yourself a little bit once you sort of get in, you get your eye in. I mean, if you know the wicket's good and it's a quick outfield and whatever, and there are runs to be had, as Rocky said, I think it's almost a case of trying to not get too far ahead of yourself and just fly through the gears. And sort of think you're playing like Superman. You've got to rein it in, and if you bat within yourself and you just try and sort of keep playing the ball on merit as long as you can, that's generally the way to go. Particularly in a quick outfield like this one was on this occasion. If you beat, you get it through the gap, you generally got 4. So there's no doubt about it. It was a really good day for batting, and as I think I said earlier, it was a hot week. So once you got bowlers into their second and third spells, you could tell it was pretty tough going for them. So, yeah.
Well, next up came the 50 partnership, the first milestone of many. And let's take a look back at that one.
Crocombe, Stoneman drops a quick single just in front of mid-off. All right, there's the 50 partnership, the opening pair.
So a quick push and a quick single. Rocky, that was indicative of the way the innings developed. You, aside of hitting a huge amount of boundaries each, you were quick on the singles, quick on the twos, turned twos into threes where you could. Was that an important part of any partnership that you play in?
yeah, absolutely. I think one of the keys of our partnership is a left-hand, right-hand combination, particularly in this occasion, is that if the bowler settles in on a decent length and you're able to drop and run, then you might get the clip ball away or a cut if they're trying to then adjust the line and length. Bowlers love just getting a set of 6 at one batsman at a time. That gives them a chance to work their plans, where if you're constantly turning over the strike and frustrating them, generally you get them more bad balls to pick off.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. And I think that's one of Mark's strengths, definitely, is running between the wickets, always looking to rotate the strike and get things moving and be busy even if there aren't sort of boundaries there for the taking. And I think definitely with an opening partnership, once you've batted together a few times and had a bit of success, you do definitely feed off each other and you sort of spur each other on when you can tell that the other guy's maybe not completely at his best, and vice versa. So I can think of, there's a handful of guys I can think of who I batted with, for a number of innings, and you build up a bit of a bond with your opening partner, and yeah.
Well, next up, Robert, you brought up your own 50, and the 100 partnership came up off exactly the same ball. It was 65 balls for your 50, came up in the 21st over. Let's take a look.
He places off the clip as he's in now. Bowls short one, and Robson hooks him for 4. I think he's bisected the field, and there's his 50. Robson moves to 51.
The dulcet tones of Kevin Hand, as assertive as ever. Brings up 4, I think. But that brought up your 50, Robert. You started this season brilliantly. You had 2 decent knocks. I think you had 165 in the opening game, and I think you got a 90-odd in the second game, which I think might have been against Surrey, and I think Mark might have been playing for the Oppo then. But after that, you had a bit of a lean patch. You hit 50 the week before. Did you feel like you were getting back into rhythm at this point when you passed 50? Yeah,
I think so. I think that year as well, the 50 over cricket was through August. So played a bit of. I think I played most of the 50 over competition and did all right. I was in decent form, but then I had a hamstring injury. So I actually had a few weeks off leading into the 4-dayers, sort of the September block of 4-day cricket. So it definitely took a little bit of time to get back into rhythm. As you said, I think the week before I got some runs against Derby, so it felt like I wasn't too far off. But yeah, I mean, as we said earlier on, I think on this day, once I sort of got to 30, 40, 50, I knew I was in decent rhythm, and it was just a matter of sort of not trying to throw your wicket away and cashing in, really.
Absolutely. Rocky, you're up next. You brought up your 50 off 64 balls just in the next over. Let's take a look.
In again, round the wicket bowls, short and clubbed away by Stoneman, and that wasn't a great delivery by Jack Castle, who kicks away at the crease.
Now, Rocky, you mentioned earlier your debut against Derbyshire the week before, where you bagged the pair, which is not like you at all. Third innings in for Middlesex, you've bagged the 50. must have been nice to have reached that milestone, albeit only a small milestone. But did you feel any extra pressure coming into this game on the back of two ducks?
Oh, not necessarily. Thankfully, I was sort of old enough and the sort of most of the scars of my career have healed, so it's something I can kind of brush off a little bit. But you've moved to a new club, you've got new teammates, coach, etc. And fans, and there was decent following of Middlesex fans down there as well for the week, which is nice just to get a few runs for them. Not necessarily trying to prove anything, but just make that contribution to the team. Like I say, I haven't made the pair the week before, so it was good to get that partnership up and running and get a few to my name.
Absolutely. Well, next up, I think I'm right in saying, was the only chance of the whole partnership. It was yourself, Rocky, when you were on 61. It came up in the 35th over. Let's take a look. And it's some chance.
What did I do?
I can't remember.
Hunt. Ball short down the leg side to Stoneman. Oh, has it been put down? It has.
I think the technical term
Was
for that
it a chance?
Well, I think so. I think the technical term for that is an absolute goober. It would have been a harsh way to go. But you've been tied down at that point. You were going well before lunch. You'd had a sticky patch after lunch. A number of dot balls were applying a bit of pressure up to that point. What were you thinking, and what are you thinking when a chance like that goes down? Do you start thinking, okay, this is my day?
Looking back on that, I should have been hitting that for 4 or 6. But obviously, it just sort of come down the slope a little bit and might have brushed the underside of the glove. But like you said, I think for any partnership, you get to lunch, you get all the pats on the back. What were we, 100 for none? But you have to start again. And obviously, the opposition are going to go into their dressing room. They're going to have a chat, talk about their plans. So more often than not, what's happened beforehand, it might feel great, but they're coming with a different sort of viewpoint, mindset, game plan, and they're going to try and do something to change the course of the game, which they did. Obviously, you create a chance there, which they missed, but then it's a case of, right, just keep doing the good work. We got through the new ball where they had a plan, and we got through that, so they've come with another one. Let's go again.
Rob, are you setting yourselves little milestones at this point? You've talked about seeing off the new ball. Do you set yourselves those milestones as an innings builds?
Not really. I've never been one to sort of have set figures. Sort of, I know other guys sort of try and think about 5 and 10 run increments and so on. That's never really been my thing. I just try and spur myself on and drive myself on just to keep playing every ball on merit and almost time goals for me, try and get through the next half hour or to drinks, and then on a hot day like this where, sometimes in English county cricket you don't have drinks breaks, but on a hot week like this where there was sort of a drink every hour, I'd try and get to the next drinks break, and then if tea's not too far away, you get to tea and so on. Maybe bowling spells as well. I think you often, the more experience you get, I think you often realise when, the other team's best bowler or whatever is in a bit of rhythm and things are going their way, that if you can hang in there for another 2-3 overs, whatever it is, and get through that spell, you've achieved something as well. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, next up was the 150 partnership, more than known that drinks break. So let's have a look at how that came up.
Jack Carson around the wicket. In the bowls, and Stoneman hammers this one away, and that could have gone all the way. Where's it bouncing? Has that gone all the way for a maximum? Yes, it has. Well, it's had enough. Mark Stoneman, I said he looked a little uncertain since then. There's nothing uncertain about that.
I think, Rocky, that landed somewhere near Western Road in Hove. But phenomenal shot. This by now is Middlesex's biggest opening partnership of the season by a long way. As a pairing, as a partnership, at what point do you start to think, okay, you've already talked about it's good conditions, we can go big here. You've already got 150 on the board now. Are you now starting to think this could be huge?
Yeah, I don't know whether you're thinking it could be huge or whatever. I definitely think, I think as opening batsman, and particularly when you're experienced and you've played a lot and you've gone through the tough times as well as had the good periods as well. You learn not to take the good conditions for granted and take things for granted when they're going well. So for me on a day like this, as I've sort of alluded to a couple of times, I think it's when there's a big score there for the taking. It's just about really trying to be as disciplined as you can and just not throw it away and recognise that you've got an opportunity there to get a really big score, and that they only sort of come along a couple of times a year. So if that really. So yeah, I think I don't know about 150, but maybe as the innings went further on, I think we might have recognised that there was an opportunity to sort of do something special. But yeah, I think at this stage, 150 partnership, you're just really trying to say, right, let's not try and get out for 80 each and look back and think I threw away a big one. Let's try and go on and try and make big hundreds.
It's all right.
No, I think Robbo said it perfectly there. I think sort of like two experienced players, 150, in the context of the game, it's nothing really, is it, if you're on a good surface? We're realising there that, yes, it might look great, but all of a sudden you put 2 wickets on that and a couple of guys start fresh. You can soon be 180 for 4, and you've handed the initiative on a good surface back to the opposition. So it's very much a case of stay in your lane and keep doing what you're doing. That's working for you, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, it's certainly carried on working. You brought the 200 up. They came up in the 48th over. Let's have a look at how that one arrived.
Lovely sunny afternoon in the bowls, and Robson just works this down to third man. I love it. A shot of a player who's full of confidence from Sam Robson, easing that down towards the third man boundary. Look at Stoneman here coming back to the third, racing back for the third run, which indeed he does.
Racing.
I mean, that's a phenomenal example of how well you were running as a partnership. You've got 200 up on the board. You're still running along like a 21-year-old, Rocky. Tell me what you're saying to each other at this stage, because you've been out there for nigh on 50 overs. What's the conversation like? Are you encouraging each other, or are you, as you say, very much you're in your own lane? Are you just doing your own thing? You're that much in the zone?
I think from memory, sort of the key to our partnership when it's working well is we just leave ourselves to our own devices. Unless we see each other doing something that's out of the norm, it's very much a case of keep going and try not to disrupt each other's rhythm, I guess. I mean, there's tougher days for sure where you might try and help a bit more if someone's bowling a blinder of a spell or the ball's doing plenty, but on this occasion it was sort of not much to say and move on, innit? Keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah, I think it's the balance between not talking too much and going around in circles. I think, it's about keeping it simple. I think both guys know what they've got to do. It's just about trying to keep each other's sort of heads in the game and keep spurring each other on to keep concentrating really and stay focused more than anything, rather than talking about anything too tactical or anything like that.
Absolutely. I guess what you've done to this point has been working. So Rocky, next board up is 100. That was the next milestone. Off 149 balls, came up just a couple of overs later. Your first 100 for Middlesex, Rocky. Let's take a look.
108 Ramos for his bowls, and Stoneman drives hard, and there's the century, brought up to the boundary. He moves to 103 from 149 deliveries. Takes the bat off, takes the helmet off, raises the bat to the pavilion and then around the grounds. And Mark Stoneman, 103 runs, 149 balls, 200 minutes.
Well batted, sir. What was it like bringing up that first 100 for Middlesex? How special was that?
Nice, I think. Just like I say, the weight of the pair the week before, getting out on a good surface and just really sort of getting my teeth into my Middlesex career nice and early was a lovely way to do it. The irony being that was actually a bat that I'd taken off Tim Murtagh the week before. I'd got a pair, I wasn't in love with my number one bat, and Murtagh's like, this is going spare. I picked it up checked the handle, I was like, that's perfect, I'll use it next week. So it was, lucky charm.
Love it. Not to be outdone, Robbo, you came next. 161 balls for your 100 in the 53rd over. Let's take a look.
That was my first time courses, 10:30 start. And here comes a length ball, which is run by Robson down to the vacant third, a little edgily, but he gets his century with the boundary. And Robson moves to 103 from 161 deliveries. Off goes his helmet and his bat raises around home. 103 from 161 deliveries, 211 minutes.
Now we'll give you the benefit of the doubt and say that was an angled bat, soft hands.
I was going to say it looked like a nick to me, but yeah, I'll take that rundown.
How are you feeling now, Robbo? You've got 100 on the board, your second 100 of the season. Are you looking to go big, or is it just relief?
A bit of everything really. I think as you sort of play more and more, there are different goals in your career, and a lot of them for me around sort of success for the team and obviously doing well in the championship, and last year we got promoted, and I think now we're in Division 1. You want to try and spur the team on the next few years to try and win the championship again. That was something that meant a lot to me as a Middlesex player. But another one is for me is hundreds. I take a lot of pride in trying to get hundreds when I get in and do the hard work. So every time I get 100, it's it means a lot and whatever. So yeah, I think you're right. I think there is a bit of a relief. I think when you get in and you do the hard work and you know there's a big score for the taking, it's a pleasing moment. And yeah, as you said, I think definitely, again, it was a good wicket and conditions are good. So I definitely didn't want to get out for 105 or something. I wanted to try and make hay while I could.
They talk about the nervous 90s. Do either of you suffer from those?
Oh, I did when I was younger, but I've gotten out so many times now. Just get on and play the game, watch the ball hard, and
yeah, I think there's a little bit of nerves there because you want to get 100 obviously, but I think a bit like what Rocky said. I think I've had a few 90s, and I also sort of feel that if things don't go your way and you get out for 95 or 96, well, it's better than getting out for naught. So and you get plenty of those as well. So not too bad now.
Very true. Well, the runs kept coming. 250 up in the 57th over. Let's take a look.
Here's Hudson Prentice to Stoneman, a little edgily along the floor.
Edge?
In the face.
So mine was a rundown and yours was an edge. How does that work?
250 second batting point.
doesn't like left-handers, this guy.
In the 57th over.
Dear me.
So run down to third man.
Well, I
Quite
mean, look at the
clearly.
space there. Look, I just fed it into that gap nicely.
There's a big gap there. You're exploiting the gap.
Savage.
250 up. You mentioned earlier 150 partnership. You didn't feel your job was done, Rocky. When you've got 250 on the board, you're starting to make real inroads. You're starting to put the side in such a strong position in the game as it went on to be.
Yeah, you're getting in the realms of doing a proper job now, and really sort of hurting the opposition. I mean, when 57 overs, that's going along at a decent lick as well for a 4-day game. I think we just found a lovely tempo by this point. Again, that left-hand, right-hand combination, I think they were just finding it hard to sort of stack 2 or 3 overs together where it was quite quiet and the board was moving nicely.
I've got a degree of sympathy for the Sussex bowlers here. They were missing a few. There was no Ollie Robinson, who has tormented us a few times. I think George Garton was back after a long layoff. A couple of youngsters in the side, and you certainly put the sword to them. But next up came 300. That came up in the 68th over. Robbo, talk us through this one.
Carson to Robson. Bowls, and Robson defends into the offside. Quick single taken, and there it is. The 300 opening stand.
Yeah, I think once you get to 300 for none, you know that it's sort of once in a career sort of stuff. I don't think I've been there before. I think I've had a big partnership with Chris Rogers a fair while ago now here against Surrey. I think we were following on. That might have been close. I think we both made biggish hundreds there, but I don't think it was 300. So yeah, I think there, as I said, you're sort of on the verge of doing something maybe special in terms. When I say special, something that you're not going to do maybe ever again. So yeah, I think you acknowledge it, and we sort of congratulate each other. You have to acknowledge when you've had a good day out. But yeah, again, I think just looking there, I think it was the 68th over. For me, I know that when you get sort of big scores and you get close to that second year ball, things are going to get pretty tough again. But we were still 11, 12 overs away from the second year ball, so I think it was just a case of trying to keep going as long as we can. And I think by now we realise that there were some big scores there for the taking if we went on. So.
Rocky, you're early into the evening session here. At what point in that last session of the day do you start to look ahead to the close of play and thinking, okay, do I adapt the way I play the game now, or do you just literally play the way you play?
I think it's particularly in this occasion. I think sometimes on surfaces where it does a lot more, you're kind of working out where the opposition are going to have the upper hand. But I think in this scenario now, it's just a case of just enjoy the moment you're in, because very rarely does it come along on a good wicket with such a massive partnership. Just stay in the moment and keep enjoying it, really.
I think it's safe to say by this stage we know who's got the upper hand. But Robbo was the first to bring up his 150. That came up in the 69th over, just the very next over. Let's take a look at that one, Robbo.
comes Hunt and bowls, and Robson eases that through backward point. Picks up a single, and that's 150 for Sam Robson.
Robert, you're one of those batters that once you get 150, you quite often go on and keep going. I've seen some really huge knocks from you. At what point are you thinking double 100? Are you there yet, or are you just literally cashing in on?
I think so. Yeah, I think on a day like today, in a circumstance like this, definitely, because I think there's a couple of times in the year, if that, or sometimes there's only once a year where you turn up and you really know that conditions are going to be really in your favour. So I think on a day like this, yes, I think once I got to 100 or 150, I think I knew that, you know, if the way I was going to get out was probably going to be through an error or a bit of a loose shot, or maybe getting a good ball with that second new ball. So definitely, I think by now I was sort of thinking, you know, there's a really, really big score there for the taking if I just hang in there. So yeah, I think by now it's probably get to the second new ball and then reassess things then.
What I love about this partnership is the fact you pretty much matched each other stride for stride all the way through it. Your 50s came up with a couple of overs of each other, your 100s, your 150s. Let's take a look at yours next, Rocky. Yours came up in the 71st over, 150 off 216 balls. Here we go.
Shorter.
Balls now, and that's driven away beautifully by Stoneman.
Bit of cramp there.
150. What a way to do it. Through the covers it goes. 150 up for Stoneman. 331 without loss.
Now that's some way to bring it up, Rocky, a crunching drive. I asked Robert about him getting to 200. You've yet to do so in your career. Are you starting to think this could be the day?
I guess it was a sort of dot on the horizon at that point, but I reckon I was probably one of the few times I've been really present to actually go on and make a bigger score. I think probably one of the pitfalls of my career has been the times I've made 100, I've then looked to try and push things on too quickly, and sort of like the list of hundreds I've made will probably show that getting out in the sort of 1-teens.
Yep.
If you like. I think it was just in a good place that day and just enjoying batting along as I was. I think even up until the point I got dismissed, I'd kept that tempo. So it was probably one of the purest innings in that regard of just finding a rhythm and sticking to it.
Absolutely. Well, next up, we've got the first of a number of records that fell, actually. This was our record stand against Sussex, which was 338. Amazingly hit in 1895 at Hove by Robert Lucas and Tim O'Brien. I think Tim Merton might have been 12th man that day. But
good lads, like the
I
job.
guess at this point you're deep into a partnership. You probably don't know what you're about to achieve, but let's have a look at that. And there's a polite little nod of applause from the crowd, who are probably very well aware of what you just achieved.
Rollins bowls and swept for 4, is it is. And there it is, the record stand.
So even Kevin Hand knew what you'd achieved there. So you've just gone past 338. You hear a bit of an applause. Any idea what's going on? Or are you just literally cracking on?
No idea.
Not really. I don't think we would have had any idea at that stage. No, again, just cracking on. And yeah, like Rocky said, when you're in and things are going your way and whatever on a good wicket, yeah, you just try and soak it up and enjoy it, I think. Mm.
In hindsight, looking back, what does it mean to the pair of you to have beaten a record that stood the test of time for over a century and a quarter?
I think it's a hell of an effort, isn't it, really? Yeah, it's proud. I think it's something we're certainly walking out about that day. We weren't sort of setting our stall out to try and break any records, where we just go out and do the best you can, and I guess it's nice that it came along. Yeah, hopefully it lasts as long as the last one did.
Yeah, I think like what Rocky said there. Yeah, it is. It's there is. You are proud. I think in your career, yeah, there's a few things that stand out, and you have a lot of tough days and whatever. So I think when you have a day like that, I think you definitely walk away at the end and you sort of realise that it's probably never going to happen ever again. So you soak it up, and you've just got to enjoy it. So yeah, definitely.
Brilliant. Well, you kept going. 350 came up next. Let's take a look.
Rawlings bowls and Robson backs up and wristily works off the back foot a single steep square. 350 up, and that's the fourth batting point. Robson's on to 170, and the Middlesex opening pair registered the fourth batting point.
So Kev mentioned the fourth batting point. That's also only the fourth time in the club's history that a partnership has gone past 350. You guys have been out there for 76 overs now. The new ball's approaching. We've already talked about the fact that you've been running quickly, rotating strike. You must, frankly, be knackered at this point. When does fatigue start to play a part? Does it come into it? Does it cloud your judgment, your mind, your footwork?
Well, for me, I think we've already seen in a couple of the clips there was a bit of cramp setting in. I'm a shocking sweater, so if it gets above 15 degrees, and I'll start having a few beads of sweat running down my brow. So that day, I think it was quite warm. Robbo, with his background, gets on a little bit better. But yeah, I think as you see the way the field set there, very much an accumulation phase, wasn't it? They had nowhere to go. They were just hoping for the second new ball, really. So yeah, just keep picking them off and adding up that tally.
Mm.
Well, the next milestone was the big one. Let's take a look at you going past the record that stood since 1998, which was Mike Gatting and Justin Langer's record opening partnership of 372. You went past this one in the 84th over of your partnership.
Crocombe to Stoneman, cuts down on this one, and there's the single. The record opening stand by Middlesex, the 372 set by Gatting and Langer against Essex at Southgate.
We're looking at the board thinking, what's going on there?
Yeah.
It's like,
I was about to suggest that's probably exactly what you're thinking. So it always amazes me how knowledgeable cricket crowds are, especially in 4-day formats, and nothing bypasses them. So there's applause gone up, there's widespread cheering around the ground. You've got no idea what's going on, but looking back on that, how special is it to beat a record set by two greats of the game, really, in Justin Langer and Mike Gatting? Rocky, you first.
yeah, phenomenal. Like absolute legends, them two. Like I say, once you keep going up and up, I mean, getting past 300, it was like, well, that's, it's a hell of an achievement. 350, and then that round of applause. You think actually, that's pretty. It's a pretty decent round of applause for 372. So you must have done something special there. Yeah, I think just immensely proud that you're able to contribute with someone else. It's not like the individual milestone, it's actually something that you've done together. I think is one of the special things about cricket, really. You've got 11 blokes out there, but obviously this is a partnership of two. Just be able to share that with someone else, rather than just the glory of an individual achievement of 100 or 200 or whatever.
Absolutely. And Robbo, was Justin Langer, as a fellow Australian, was he someone you looked up to as a youngster growing up in the game?
Yeah, obviously, outstanding, as Rocky said, an outstanding opening batsman, and obviously, played outstandingly well for Middlesex for a few years as well. So him and obviously Mike Gatting as well to sort of to break their record was special. And as Rocky said, I think when you do something, the unique thing about a partnership, it's the two units together. So you feel like it's a bit of a team effort. Often in cricket, a lot of the sort of statistical milestones, you achieve or whatever, they're individual. They're either high scores or, bowling, wicket-taking hauls or whatever. So, it was definitely a team effort, and, something to be proud of.
Well, the cool partnership's come to an end. I'm sorry to end on a damp note, but let's have a look at how that all finished.
With two slips, comes into bowl to the left hand. Stoneman in on bowls. As soon as Pete goes on the offside, is he caught behind? Yes, he is caught. And it's the end of Mark Stoneman's innings. Caught behind by Ollie Carter. Henry Crocombe gets the breakthrough. And the partnership of 376 comes to an end. A record-breaking partnership for Middlesex against Sussex today. Mark Stoneman out for 174.
Now, what I love there is two things. Number one is the excitement of Adrian Harms, the BBC Sussex commentator, who sat there for nearly 90 overs watching you boys pump their bowlers to all parts, and the sheer joy of the wicket falling is enough to get him out of his seat, which is great. And another part is obviously it's the end of a record-breaking partnership. The two of you have achieved something amazingly special. How was the evening? What do you do after achieving something like that? Is it just that's day one of a 4-day game done? Let's carry on business as normal, or was there a special glass of wine that night? Or?
Yeah, I think we did. I think we went to a pub on the way back with the team just for a pint or a soft drink or whatever the guys chose to drink. But yeah, I think you have to celebrate a little bit. You have to, I think on days like that, as I mentioned earlier, you have so many tough days in cricket and so many tough periods where, runs are hard to come by, or wins or wickets or whatever it is. So I think when you do have a day out like that, you have to enjoy it and soak it up. Because if you don't enjoy those days, then you're never going to enjoy it. So, yeah, I think, and as I said, the guys are all good. We're lucky we've got a great bunch here of guys that get behind each other and enjoy each other's success. So, yeah, it was a good evening, but I think we were so exhausted. I think after, probably a quick pint or a soft drink or whatever, I think we were in bed pretty early that evening. So, yeah.
I think you were in bed earlier than me because you still had to bat the next day.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
I was making sure I got rehydrated. But I'm still spewing about that ball. I can still see it coming down. Second new ball, scrambled seam, just nipped back, caught the inside edge. Mate, we could have got 600, I reckon.
Yeah. Take 370, don't you?
But yeah, what a day.
Yeah, I think you should take 372. Now, Robbo, you obviously went on to get 253, which I think I'm right in saying is the highest individual score of your own career. Rocky, you fell for 174, which I think is just short of yours. I think you've got 180 odd. Might have been against Middlesex actually. Playing with Surrey.
I got 187 against Middlesex, 197 against Sussex.
There you go. So you missed out on that double century. Are you still kicking yourself?
Yeah, I mean, like we said, it was a new ball wicket. I think I'm still making a good decision there. That rhythm's still there. I think I've been got out, so fair play to Crocombe. I think he was probably the pick of the bowlers. The lines and lengths he was able to hit, regardless of what the figures might say. But yeah, just a great day really, and yeah.
It was the third highest partnership for any wicket in the club's 150 plus year history. Only 5 runs from being the second highest partnership ever for Middlesex. To both of you, how special is it to write your own names into the history of this great club?
Yeah, it is. Look, I mean, I don't think you play to try and... it is a cliche. I think you hear so many people say, "Oh, you don't play for records or whatever," but it is true. I don't think you play for those reasons. But equally, you are proud and it's pleasing when you achieve things like that, because you put a lot of hard work in, and it takes a lot of dedication or whatever to keep playing year after year and keep trying to get better and whatnot. So when you see your name sort of up there, whether it's for a partnership like this or whether it's for runs scored or whatever it is, you do. There's definitely a lot of pride there, particularly for a famous club like Middlesex. Yeah,
exactly what Sam said there. I think when you've got a club with such a long, steep history, to actually be on the board up there amongst legends of the game and stuff like that, it's almost a pinch yourself moment. But I think in the main, thinking back to this game for a relatively young squad and the conditions we found compared to what maybe has been home conditions and stuff like that, I think the way this partnership set up the innings, which then set up the way we went about winning the game of cricket, was the most pleasing thing of 4 days of hard fought cricket on a good surface, and to get a win for Middlesex. I think that was the most pleasing thing of what the partnership led to.
Brilliant stuff. Well, that pretty much completes our trip down memory lane. Congrats to both of you. It was a great look back. Really enjoyed it. I've got one last question for both of you, just to tie this all into Knight Frank's perfect partnership campaign. Incredible to think that was only your second partnership together, having just played at Derbyshire the week before. You've obviously now played together for the best part of a couple of years. To you first, Rocky, what in your eyes makes for the perfect partnership?
Clear communication, not overcomplicating things. and allowing each other to be themselves, to fully flourish. I think in our case, it's not for me to tell Sam what to do. It's how to help support him be the best that he can be, and he reciprocates that wholeheartedly. So yeah, I'll say that's the key to our partnership.
Yeah, pretty much everything that Rocky's just said then. I think to add to that, I think complementing each other. I think in terms of cricket, I think I think we generally complement each other nicely. Some of my weaknesses are Mark's strengths, and vice versa. And I think that's where partnerships work well. So that would be something that I would add to everything Mark said.
Well, both, thanks ever so much for joining us. I hope you've personally enjoyed taking that trip down memory lane. I know we have. Hopefully the viewers will enjoy watching your reflections on that. As I say, thanks for joining us. All the very best of luck for the rest of this season, and go well.
Thank you. Well done, mate.
Cheers.